Okay. So we completed up to supplier creation. We created supplier through manual process. Other option, we tried with FPDA, file based data import, to understand how supplier conversion can be done. Now we'll see PO tab. PO tab. Tab stands for Transaction Accounting Builder. So in EBS, when you are dealing with the purchasing, and you at the time of requisition creation and purchase order creation, system derives accounting. If system is deriving the accounting, we have to provide, first we have to provide those accounts in specific source. Ideally we provide those required accounts in the as a part of setup. We completed setups for inventory and purchasing. Almost we completed most of the setups in purchasing also, but we never provided any account which is required at the time of requisition creation and purchase order. In case of EBS, we provide accounts in the inventory information and receiving parameters and other places also, but ideally what are the accounts are required at the time of requisition purchase order will provide as a part of that inventory information. Okay, so those we configured inventory information or say inventory parameters, but we never provided any relevant information. Okay, the relevant what are the setups are required already we completed, we never provided. In case of EBS, Oracle is providing the default account generator workflow. The default they are providing, what are the accounts you are inputting based on the setups, the default account generator will derive that account and it will generate the accounting entries. So same logic how we can handle in the Fusion application. So in Fusion application, this EBS account generator workflow they replaced with this tab. Okay, whatever we are calling as tab which we are using in the purchasing application in PO, that is nothing but account generator workflow in EBS. With this, which accounts we can handle, which accounts we can derive whenever you perform the transaction. Primarily we have a 5 accounts. So with this PO tab you can define the derivation rules to trigger the accounting entries based on the requisition purchase order for these 5 accounts. Say one is charge account, and the other one is say accrual account, and variance account, and destination charge account, and destination variance account. Okay, destination variance. So when we are dealing with the requisition purchase orders, these accounts are required. So what is the purpose of these accounts? Okay, what is the purpose of these accounts? So ideally the charge account we use to capture whatever we spend. Okay, what are the money we are spending, so on what exactly we are spending, to just to capture we use the charge account to capture the spending, or else whatever we are going to have a charge, simply call it as spendings. And when I talk about accrual account, we know like before we against the purchases whatever the amount we have to pay to the supplier which we call as liability, before that we have to accrue the liability based on these documents which you create, requisition purchase order. So this is again like intermediate account. Okay, so where this account will get reversed when you create the invoice. When you create invoice, we know the respective charge or expense account is debit and the liability account would be credited. So here whenever just we deal with this matching process, if you are going to create invoice based on the documents called as purchase order, so there we could say instead of the expense or charge accounts, we will have a accrual account. So it holds, we could say, kind of temporary liability amount, whatever we have to pay to the supplier against the spendings that can be holded by accrual account. Will be accruing whatever we have to pay to supplier. It's all about, it says it is nature wise it is a liability account, so which is not confirmed liability that we can hold with the account called as accrual accounts. Okay, it's a liability account. Okay, it's not confirmed liability. Whenever you do some purchases, immediately will be identifying how much you spent against which account and how much you have to pay to the supplier, but this will get, accruals will get reversed once you create the invoice, and the actual liability will be identified, and system will create, whenever you create invoice, the accruals will get credited, debited, and liability will be credited. That means accruals will get reversed once you create invoice. Till the time we have to hold that how much we have to pay to the supplier with accrual account. And the other important account is variance account. Okay, when you are just purchasing something, if there is some variance between your what I could say, like the purchase order price and invoice price. As per purchase order, the price is different if you compare with at the time of invoice creation. Your PO price and invoice price, if it is going to be different, the variance can be captured into this variance account. Simply you can say, so whatever the document you are creating, say you are creating PO, purchase order, in PO you given one price, and at the time of invoice, because of some different reasons, you may just have a different price within the invoice. So the variance between these two, system will identify with this variance account. Okay, so if this is the case, PO is having one price and invoice is going to have a different price, that we call as IPV, invoice price variance. Okay, so that you can handle with the variance account. Variance account will capture if there is any variance, otherwise there won't be any balances within the variance account. Say this is all about price variance between PO and invoice. So out of these 5 accounts, which you could see as a part of PO tab, Transaction Accounting Builder, these 3 are mandatory accounts. Okay, these 3 are mandatory. So this variance, if such kind of scenario is there, then only system will capture. Otherwise, these 2 would be very much mandatory. But ideally, these 3 are mandatory accounts. Okay, this is depending on the scenario, but ideally these 2 are mandatory. Simply you can say out of 5 accounts, these 3 are mandatory. When you talk about this additional 2 accounts, destination charge and variance, these also charge and variance accounts only. Charge and variance. I think somebody is unmuted. Fine. So destination charge account and variance account. Here we have a charge and variance account, the similar accounts, but the purpose is different. If you are dealing with the intercompany transactions, okay, when you are dealing with intercompany transactions, which involves procuring from other organization. If one organization is going to procure from other organization within our business, so to handle that scenarios, to identify, so how much, I mean, for destination organization, how much charge it is going to be. If there is any variance similar to this, what is the variance for the destination organization? Okay, from which, I mean, these in case of intercompany transactions, so these additional accounts we have to use. However, we are just capturing the spendings for the uh, specific. I mean, here when you talk about charge account, directly for which business unit, within which business unit we are dealing, so it goes to that business unit. But here, which is a destination business organization, destination, for the destination organization, system will be capturing what is the charge and what is the variance. So if you are handling those scenarios, then only it is mandatory, otherwise so we don't need to maintain these accounts. But we'll see how to define, how it works, how a complete mapping can be done within the PO tab. So here let me write, so this is a charge account which is belongs to destination organization. So this is again a variance account. This is for destination organization in case of intercompany transactions. So primarily these are the 5 accounts we have as a part of PO tab. PO tab, PO tab is, when you compare with EBS, it's nothing but account generator, so workflow. Here they given the simple option how you can define your own rules. Okay, so this is a point we have to understand. Now if you want to set up these 5 accounts for derivation, whenever you create the documents like requisition, purchase order, what setups need to be done? The setups would be similar to our EBS SLA only. Okay, EBS SLA only. So in EBS SLA, subledger accounting, so we can create the mapping set. Otherwise you may ignore the mapping set, directly you can create the ADR, accounting derivation rules. So similar to that, here we have here also we have a mapping set. Here we don't call as ADR, accounting derivation rule, simply we call as account rule. Okay, account rule. We'll see like what setups need to be done to implement PO tab. And one more point, by default Oracle provides the default PO tab, transaction accounting builder Oracle provides. However, Oracle is providing the default workflow, account generator workflow in EBS. Even Oracle is providing default based on our setups, what are the accounts we input in the respective setup, system will derive and it will create. But here nowhere we provided accounts. Even Oracle is providing the default this PO tab. Still what we have to do is, as per our chart of accounts, what are the accounts we have, those we have to go and update, then only it will work. Instead of going and just inputting the additional accounts, let's try to understand how to define this PO tab. Ideally in each and every project we create our own PO tab. So that is the reason we'll see the complete process of this PO tab definition, so that we'll have a better understanding. So once we're done with this, if you want to go and modify existing one also, it will be easy for us, since we are going to see the in and out process of this definition. Okay, so if you want to implement PO tab, what setups we have to perform? So let's say PO tab configuration. Okay, we are going to set up. So if you want to maintain some sort of mapping, some conditions, we have to create the mapping set, otherwise not required. But for our understanding, here we'll create. Say create mapping set, means on what base this charge account need to be derived, and what base this accrual account need to be derived. Say for example, whenever you perform the transaction, you are creating the, say, some purchase order. For each BO, you want to maintain the different charge account or different accrual account or different variance account or any accounts. If you want to, based on some condition, if you want to derive the different values, those you can create within this mapping set. What are the possible conditions we have within the mapping set? We'll go through as a part of definition. Okay, first we have to create the mapping set. If you want to build a condition, it's required, otherwise not mandatory. But account rule is mandatory. We have to create account rule. For each account we have to create one rule. We have a 5 accounts. For 5 accounts we have to create the 5 account rules. Okay, these 5 you can call as 5 account types. Okay, these 5 we can call as account types. Okay, you can call as here transaction accounting types. These 5 we can call as TAT, transaction accounting types. Nothing but different type of accounts. These are the accounts. Which accounts? These 5 accounts. These 5 accounts we can call as transaction accounting types, TAT. Fine. So for these 5 accounts, we have to create the 5 rules. For each account rule, we need to create mapping set, maybe as per our requirement. Maybe for 2 accounts you may create mapping set, for remaining 3 accounts you may not create, or else for 5 accounts without creating the mapping set, without creating the conditions, directly within the account rule itself you may provide the default code combination. So if it is a charge account, which code combination system has to take? If it is accrual account, which code combination system has to take? So that's how you can provide. We will see those points. Okay.
Hi, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Lakshman, I lost connection in between. Can you tell me, what exactly is destination charge account and destination variance account? How it's
Okay.
different from the,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I lost connection.
No issues. No issues. See, if you are dealing with intercompany transactions, that means the transaction takes place between the organization within the same business. So
Yeah.
there we use the charge account and variance account for destination organization. Anyway, from which organization we are dealing with the transaction, that is same as the charge and accrual. But what is the destination organization for the transaction? Okay, for that organization purpose we use this account. Then system will identify which is a source organization and which is a destination organization. Anyway, for source organization, these account system will use this charge account and this variance account. So what is the targeted organization between which other organization the intercompany transactions are taking place? Based on that, these 2 accounts can be used for that account, that destination organization related charge. How much is charge for that organization? How much is variance if there is any difference between the PO and the invoice related prices? Okay, for that purpose,
Okay.
these 2 accounts, but not mandatory. These 2 are not mandatory. If you are going to deal that scenario, then only mandatory. But here, ideally, we are going to create to understand, since these 5 are part of this PO tab. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Fine. First, we have to create the mapping set. If it is required, we can create. Otherwise, without creating the mapping set, also we'll be able to create the account rules. How to create those points also we'll discuss as a part of definition. Fine. So after creating the mapping set, we have to create the account rules. How many accounts we have? 5 accounts. For each account, we have to create the 1 rule. So after creating these account rules, okay, we have to create the, you can call it as TAD or tab. Okay, here ideally in the system point of view, you see as a TAD, transaction accounting definition. That only we treat as a tab. Fine. So let's say create transaction accounting definition. Okay, transaction accounting definition. TAD, but ideally we call it as. So this definition is helping us to build the accounting rules. That is the reason we call as transaction accounting builder tab. There we don't have we are not writing as transaction accounting builder, but still the definition will help us to build the rules. That's the reason we use the naming convention as a tab, transaction accounting builder. Once you create this transaction accounting builder, again another point is, this is the transaction accounting definition is specific to application. If you are going to create these rules for, this is for purchasing, tab is for purchasing. In the same way, we have a receipt accounting, cost accounting. Again, those would be specific to application. We'll see, like once we navigate to the relevant assignment, we can understand more detail level. But remember, this transaction accounting definition is specific to application. Okay, done. So in EBS, if you compare application accounting definition, AAD we have. Okay, it's similar to that. For each application, you can maintain the separate AAD, application accounting definition. Similar to that, here we have a TAD, or call it as tab. But this is especially for PO tab. It's for PO only. The same way, for each and every application, we don't have tabs. For each and every application, what are the accounting rules we define, that we call with a different naming convention. Going forward, we'll see those. Fine. Once we're done with this definition, that means with this definition, we are going to group these 5 account related rules which we are going to create for these accounts with conditions or without conditions. In our case, we are going to create with condition at the time of account rule. Without condition, if you want to use, how to use also we'll discuss. So once we group these 5 account related account rules into this tab, this has to be associated with our ledger. Within the ledger, we have a subledger accounting method. Within our subledger accounting method, for purchasing, whatever Oracle is providing as a default tab, that we have to override with our own definition. Okay, so that simply call it as assign tab to subledger accounting options, or say call it as subledger account, subledger options, or subledger accounting options, anything you can call it. Subledger accounting options. Done. So this is what we have to do. First we have to create the mapping sets, then we'll create the account rules for 5 accounts. So by grouping for these 5 accounts related rules, we'll group into this tab, and that tab will assign to our ledger. We'll go to our ledger. Within the ledger, what are the, at the time of ledger creation, we selected subledger accounting method. Within that method, we'll go to the purchasing section. There we have to associate or define new custom definition to that, so that accordingly system will sync. Without defining this tab, you cannot perform the requisitions or purchase orders. You cannot process them. Okay, just it will allow you to just to create, but it won't allow you create in the sense you can enter the transaction and all, but you cannot save and you cannot process that documents further without defining this PO tab. It's a mandatory. Okay, it's a mandatory. So this is a point we have to understand. Now we'll go and see how to define the mapping set and account rules, etc. Let's navigate to instance, go to our implementation project. Okay, we'll just look at how these need to be defined, and after understanding those points, if you have any questions, we can discuss all this. Yeah, fine. Go to project, we'll define everything from our project. Go to task list. Okay, first what we have to do, we have to create the mapping sets. So this is our project. Open this project. So search for the task called as mapping sets. The mapping sets, these all are we are going to create for purchasing. So search for mapping sets. Okay, so here you can find the task mapping sets, but the mapping set task is belongs to different areas. Okay, so finance, procurement, and here when I talk about, here you can go with the task called as procurement related task means the path you have to follow, which is related to procurement. The first one you can choose manage mapping sets. Okay, manage mapping sets. Click on go to task icon. And before this, we'll go and verify these five accounts are available or not. Okay, now these five accounts we required as a part of our chart of account structure. We'll go and check. So which chart of accounts we are using, we'll go and verify. Sorry. Specify ledger options. With this task, we can check which chart of accounts we are using. Okay. This is our accounting calendar. This is our chart of accounts. ERPT. Because this I loaded through wrapped implementation spreadsheet. So that is the reason the name is just ERPT. Fine. So that means the value set is, we'll go to that task, chart of accounts, value sets. We know when we create with the wrapped implementation chart, when you create this chart of accounts, the wrapped implementation, we know what format system will follow, segment name plus the name what we are inputting within the spreadsheet. Right? That base will go and verify. Go to manage value sets. Say account ERP3. Click on manage values. So we'll go and check these accounts are available or not. We need these five accounts. First we'll check charge account. Search. So late charges, finance charges, charges. No, there is no exact charge account. These are different charges. So what we'll do is we'll just go and add these accounts. We'll add these 5 accounts. Maybe other accounts also may not be available as a part of this, since we loaded these values based on the sample data which is available within the RAP implementation spreadsheet. So we'll just go and add, make sure that the number, how many digits we have, 5 digits, the size, follow the same. Just click on add. It will open new record space so that you can create the new value. Just click on add. Okay. So let's say I'll take this account, charge account, charge account. So allow budgeting, allow posting, you can keep it as yes, but account type. So since it is charge, that is expense. Okay, and add another 4 more accounts. See what system will do is out of these 5 accounts, for the charge account, for charge account system has a validation. System will verify if the account type, the account nature is charge or not, expense or not. Okay, at the time of definition, if you create this charge account by selecting some liability or something else, at the time of PO creation, it will create the issue. So that's how they written the programming. So make sure that for charge account nature you are selecting as expense only, since that should be expense. The validation also they written. For other accounts there is no validation. Only for charge account there is validation within the system. What is the message? Click on add. Value set account here could be value attribute account type column flex value attributes. Nothing. Just let me close and reopen. Manage values. Directly click on create. Charge account. Summary set to no. That means it's not a parent account. Allow posting. Yes, with this account, what are the transactions we do? We'll post. If required, we create the budget also for this account. Nature of account is since it charges expense. A third party control value you can set to no. Reconcile. You can set no arrest, no issues. Then click on add. We'll save it and we'll see. What's wrong with this? Yes, account type you are entering. Why it is showing this message? Okay, just will log out and sign in, and we'll check once. Okay, search for chart of accounts. First, we'll go and verify the structure. What is the status of that structure and all. Directly click on search. It will list out. Yeah, the deployment it is showing as incomplete. Okay, submit for deployment, and later we'll create the value. So all the time make sure that the deployment status is deployed, but here its status is edited mode. Okay, we'll complete the deployment, then we'll go and create the values that system should accept.
What could be the reason every time this is we need to do that this activity before we do create value sets, Lakshman?
Since there is some change system identified with the chart of accounts, whatever we have in the accounting flex field, within the accounting flex field only we created our chart of accounts, right?
Correct.
So system made a note as some changes are done. Some changes are done for those chart of accounts. That could be any chart of account that is part of accounting flex field. So that is the reason it is not allowing us to create the value. So ideally, when you are using any chart of accounts, you have to make sure that the chart of account structure, which is a part of accounting flex field, the flex field status is deployed. Deployed means it's a compiled, validated all the time. Okay, that system will verify.
Okay.
Now you could see the status as deployed. Now it should allow us to create the values. System identified, when we are trying to create the value, system is identified. So this chart of account is part of accounting flex field. That accounting flex field status is edited status, not deployed. Okay, now we'll go to chart of accounts value set values task. And what is our value set name? Account ERP tree. Click on manage values. Now we'll try to create those values. So charge account, It's not a parent value. Say allow budgeting, allow posting as yes. Account type, it's expense. Third party, no. Reconcile, you can set any value. Click on add, it should accept. Yep. So we'll create rest of 4 also. So 555, any number you can take. And after charge accrual account, create accrual account. So it's getting defaulted account type for accrual account. The type is liability. Just okay. So basically for the charge account system as a validation, it should be expense. That is the reason you have to define as expense. If you define with some other account type, it will accept. When you create the purchase order, it will create the issue. It says the validation failed for charge account. The charge account nature should be expense only. For other accounts, whatever you are creating, so any account you can choose, but just for testing, system will accept. For charge account, you have to make it as a expense account only. You can write directly variance account. So market, and we have a 2 more accounts. 1 for destination charge account, and one more is destination variance account. Okay, we defined 5 accounts. Let's save and close. Done. So now we'll go and create the mapping set. As a part of mapping, we can choose those account values to define the conditions. And again, we'll just make a note of our business unit also. In the as a part of the mapping set definition, we'll specify if the business unit is so and so. So this is a account code combination system has to derive. This is how we'll go and write the rule. So when you are defining the mapping set, we cannot find any business units as a part of LOV of that field. There we have to provide business unit as a dynamic value. So again, that should match with the existing values. So we'll just go and make a note of our BU name. Manage business units. Unit. Task they given as a business unit. Fine. Here is the business unit name. Take as this. Here Petri US business unit. This is the name. Fine. Now we can go with the mapping set. Search for mapping sets. The mapping set we require, which is belongs to purchasing. We can go with the first task. Click on go to task icon. So here there are some predefined mapping sets. There are some predefined mapping set, you could say, created by Oracle. Okay. So within this, we cannot find our business units, we cannot find our chart of account related accounts and all. If you want to modify those, you can modify. But if you understand how to create our own, even existing, you can modify, or else you can create our own, how we required, and what base system has to derive. Let's see how to create our own mapping sets. Those are for purchasing. Fine. Click on create. We'll create 5 mapping sets for these 5 accounts. Okay, for these 5 accounts we'll create 5 mapping sets. I'll take these 5 accounts into this notepad. First we'll create for charge account. So give the mapping set name, say ERP3 charge account mapping set. ERP3 charge. So output type we can go with account combination, and input source, on what base system has to derive the charge account. Input source, here you can click on, once you place the cursor it is not showing. So basically here select and add, we have a function. So you can click on this, since it's hiding you can go with this actions, select and add. So here you can select input source, on what base you want to derive charge account. So our requirement is based on the BU it has to derive. Before that we'll see what are the different input sources we have. Select application as a purchasing, then click on search. It will show all the possible sources on what base we can derive the charge account, or any account. These are the different sources. On what base? These are the bases. Buyer base, if buyer is so and so, this charge account system has to derive. Okay, if location, deliver to location is so and so, which charge account system has to derive. All the specification, if destination sub inventory is so and so, charge account. So these all are the different sources. On all these bases we'll be able to create the mapping set, the conditions. Okay, many we have. You can just go through when you are practicing on the instance, and you can make a note what are the possible options we have. Now for our testing purpose, what we'll do is we'll go with BU base, say that we call as sold to BU. Sold to BU name. Select, say apply, and okay. All the sold to BUs you may create one value set. Within the value set you can list out all your BUs, so that accordingly you can do the setup. In that case the value set you can select here, or else all the BUs you may maintain through lookup type, those values you can select, but these are not mandatory. Directly here also you can provide. Fine. So based on BU you want to derive the charge account. So the account whatever you are going to derive, that account is part of which chart of accounts, you have to select here. Click on add row, select our chart of accounts. So that is ERP3 chart of accounts. Reality this is ERP3 chart of accounts structure instance. Already discussed, instance only we can use. Fine. Now mapping. So what we are trying to do, based on BU we want to derive the charge account. For which BU, which charge account, that we have to specify here within the mapping. So click on add row. So input sold to BU, output system has to derive from this chart of accounts. So if BU is, you copy and paste here, you cannot select from LOV. Make sure that just you can copy and paste when if you are going to deal with multiple BUs. If you are going to write somewhere, it may go wrong. Okay, I'm copying and pasting. If BU is this, which account code combination system has to derive when you are creating the documents called as requisition or purchase order. It has to take this company. You can select any document, any department, and account we created. The account number we given as 55511, right? 55511 for charge account. Yeah. Okay. The same if you have multiple business units, and for each business unit you want to maintain separate charge accounts, you can list out here. Again, you can click on add your BU and provide the charge account if you want to maintain separately. So this is how you can create the mapping set, and just we are going with the condition called as BU specific charge accounts. Now we have to create the mapping sets for remaining 5 accounts also. So what you can do is you can say save and create another. Just click on save and create another.
So, hi Lakshman. Lakshman, can we create some sort of mapping where we can drive different segments based on different input sources? Like on receivables, right? We have accounting rules, so we can say, okay, company from this, if this segment is like,
Example. Give me example what exactly you are talking about.
so let's say if we have 5 segments in our chart account, and I want to drive 4 segments based on the location and fifth based on the item.
Here we have that option. If you select output type as a segment based, you will be able to do it. Here we select
Okay, okay.
combination. That is an entire combination we are specifying. For based on the segment based, if you want to derive, select output type as a segment. That.
So in that case, it will ask me
Yeah, for
mapping,
each and
like,
every
for each
segment wise,
segment.
how you want to derive, from where you want to derive,
Okay.
like receivables as you mentioned.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
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 Segment wise, you can set the target of source for company from where. That's how we do in receivables, right? Okay, the same you
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like accounting rules and
correct.
receivables.
You are right.
Okay.
So now we'll create the mapping set for accrual account. Say ERP3 accrual account. Provide the short name. And here it is hiding, so go with this option, actions, select and add. We'll go with the sold to BU. So apply and okay. Sold to BU is RBU, where supplier will be selling to us, so that point of it's a sold to BU. Otherwise you can just simply say the BU which you are using for purchasing. So select our chart of accounts, the account code combination we want to select from which chart of accounts. The chart of account ERP3. So click on add, provide our BU name, just copy and paste. For this BU for accrual account, which code combination system has to derive. Select accrual account. Say OK. Say save and create. The next one is variance account. Provide short name. And done. Select and add. Select BU as a source. Select our chart of accounts. And define the mapping for which BU, which code combination. So variance account. Say save and create another. One more mapping tool is ERP.
Lakshman, question.
Please.
We have a lot of input source, right? So we selected as of now sold to BU.
Yes.
What is the basis that we can select out of all the options?
That's totally different. Like you see, based on your inventory wise, inventory parameter you may select, or else it could be some item class, item category based. How you require, like how you want to differentiate, how you want to derive the accounting within the specific business unit. What are the transactions you do? You have a practice of maintaining this accrual account, charge account separate, or you want to go with a common. Now I'm just defining for one BU irrespective of any scenario, just this has specific account code combination. I'm just choosing it. See, if you don't have this kind of requirement, you can ignore it. It's not mandatory. Mapping set is not mandatory. Directly when you create account rule, there you can provide the code combination. You don't need to specify for which BU which code combination system has to take, for which inventory which code combination system has to take, or else for which item category which code combination it has to take, or for which destination or deliver to location or ship to location which code combination it has to take, because of so and so buyer related transaction which code combination it has to take. You don't have such kind of requirement. You have a requirement whenever you create this document, system has to derive specific code combination for the BU. In that case, you can define like that, or else you don't have multiple BUs also. Okay, you have a single BU, define single direct rule within the account rule. Even you have a single BU, again you don't have some segregation where category wise, item category wise, or some other criteria base. You don't want to derive the accounting. You want to make a simple rule. Whenever user perform the transaction, just take this combination. That's how, if you want to define, go with directly account rule. That also I'll see. So whatever the mapping set we are creating, by using that mapping set, how we create account rule, or else by ignoring mapping set, if you want to create accounting rule, how to do that. That would become default account code combination. We'll see those.
So mapping sets purely depends on how the accounting wants to be
On
derived.
which condition, on what base, with which criteria.
Okay.
The same concept in EBS also we have SLA, right? In SLA also we have mapping set. Same mapping set. Now we are defining. But here they given a lot of flexibility of choosing the sources, where there it is very much limited. Yep. Only condition.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. Fine. So now we'll go and define for destination charge account. Same process. So select BU. Say okay. That accounting code combination is available in which chart of account. Choose that chart of accounts and say create. Select our business unit. And provide account code combination. Destination charge account. Say save and to create another. Other account is destination variance account. So action says select BU. Say create mapping. The mapping value is business unit for this BU, which is the code combination, which combination we want to derive. Okay, so this is how we have to create. When you are practicing, you can just look into, you may try with the different values, but the way how we have to define, what we have to understand are these. Say save and close. We created 5 mapping sets. Done. Now what is the next task? We have to create the account rules. Account rules for which application? Purchasing. Okay. So here we have a manage account rules. Click on go to task icon. So because when we taken the navigation for mapping set, we followed the path which is related to purchasing. That is the reason it is displaying only purchasing. Okay, that we have to make sure. Okay. So if you take for finance, it will take you to the account rules related to finance account rules. So that is the reason when you search for mapping sets itself, you just choose the path which is related to purchasing application, then it will keep you in the right direction. So the account rules or everything, it will display purchasing only. Done. So these are the predefined account rules from Oracle. Okay, these you can edit or you can create one. Ideally we create our own. Once you create our own, even you can just go and do edit if you want to test or if you want to check from your end. Okay, so how many account rules we have to create? For 5 accounts, 5 account rules we have to create. Click on create. So account rule is ERP3 charge account rule. Okay, charge rule, and select our chart of accounts, ERP cloud, and the rule. It is ideally rule type we have to select. When you are going to derive the accounting for this charge account, how you are going to derive? Okay, how you are going to derive? If you are going to derive based on other account rule, means you can select here, you can select rule which already defined from this page only. Or else if you want to make the constant, if you are going to make the rule as constant, you don't need to create any other account rule or mapping set. Directly you can provide the code combination here. Directly you can provide the code combination, that code combination only system will derive. Okay, if you want to derive from the specific source, so in the mapping set level itself we given the source and we define. Instead of doing from there, from here also you will be able to choose the source, from which source, based on which source, all the sources which you could see over there, that also you can see here. If you don't want to create the mapping set, still what you can achieve with the mapping set, the same you want to specify here, yes, here also you can specify those. Okay, we created mapping set, that you can select directly. Rule type is rule base is mapping set base, so that mapping set you can select here, which mapping set. So this is for charge account rule, so select arbitrary charge account mapping set. Okay, so this is how just you can just provide, I mean, the rule type you can specify, and then you can say save and to create another. If you want to write some condition also, you can write it. I'll take you through that point also. So here you can say arbitrary accrual account rule. Accrual rule. Select our chart of accounts. Account rule means, for example, for this accrual account, we require derivation same as charge account. In that case, here account rule, you can select the account rule whatever we already created for this charge account. Charge account rule you can select. Then, however, whatever the account code combination system will derive for charge, the same system will derive for accrual account. If you have such kind of scenario, you can use it. Now, anyway, for every account we have a separate mapping set which we define that you can select. So this is for accrual, right? Accrual account. Select accrual account. And if you want to write some condition also, you can write. If additional condition here depends, here already we written the condition. If business unit is equal to so and so, that condition already we written, or else here directly when you are writing, you can write some condition here also, so that will work. If you want to verify how the condition, you can just look into the predefined definition what Oracle given. Within that, some kind of example conditions Oracle already written, so that's you can take as a reference. But here within this only we written the condition, that condition based mapping set only we are selecting here. Say save and close, save and create another. So another mapping set, another account rule is for variance account. Arbitrary variance account rule. So arbitrary variance. Select arbitrary. Just click on add rule type. That rule type, of course, they're given as value type. Reality that the rule type we are going to build based on which definition. Mapping set. So this is variance, right? So arbitrary variance account. Say save and create another. The next rule for destination charge account. Select chart of accounts. Select mapping set and specify the mapping set value. This is for destination charge account. So save and create another. One more account rule which we require is destination variance account. Select chart of accounts. Just click on add. Why it is not responding? Okay, I'm just canceling to create again. Select our chart of accounts, click on create. Select mapping set. For destination variance account, we have a mapping set selected. This is the one. Say save and close. Okay, done. For 5 accounts, we created 5 account rules. Here, these 5 accounts only we call as transaction account types. So that we don't need to define; those are seeded, predefined. We cannot create any additional. It's all about so as a part of application which accounts required accordingly they given. So the same you can see here. Manage transaction account types. Click on go to task icon just to see what are the account types we have. That's all. Those 5 only. Those are seeded. So accrual account, charge account, variance account, destination charge and destination variance accounts. These are seeded, which are part of the product. So for those only we have to map. The next task is, so we have to create transaction accounting definition. Okay, we have to create transaction accounting definition. So go to this, go to task icon, just click on transaction accounting definition. Click on create. Here only will be mapping. So for these 5 account types, we'll be mapping the 5 account rules which we created just now. Okay, here what we do as a part of this setup, we'll assign account rules to respective account type. Provide the name ERP tree PO tab. And select chart of accounts ERP tree. So here you can select account combination rule. If you create the rule segment wise, here you can select for each segment: company related rule, department rule, account rule. Same as receivables auto accounting. If somebody is aware of the account receivables auto accounting, for them this is the point to understand. So that's how you can create the rules, and those rules you can map segment wise. You can map, but now we created combination based. So accrual account, we created one rule. Select it. ERP tree accrual account rule. Accrual account rule. For charge account rule. ERP tree charge account rule. For destination charge account, ERP tree destination charge account. Destination variance account, ERP tree destination variance account rule, and variance account rule, ERP tree variance account rule. So for 5 account types, okay, TAT you can call transaction accounting type. We associated. Now say activate. Okay, here you could see the status as incomplete. Make it active. Click on active. Instead of saving and closing, click on activate. It will validate all these definitions and the mapping it will identify. The activation process is complete. Done. Now what is the next step? This tab definition we have to map to purchasing related SLA definition. Okay. So go to subledger accounting options, search for subledger accounting options. go to which is relevant, procurement related. Manage subledger accounting options. You have to follow the path which is related to purchasing only. Click on go to task icon. Select your primary ledger. ERP tree, USA primary ledger. Search. So here is our primary ledger. Same as EBS, you no need to do it. In EBS, if you do the modifications to SLA, the complete SLA definition itself, serial 1, you have to make a copy, you have to modify, and the entire definition you have to override within the ledger level. But here it's not required. So you can just find your ledger, expand it, and go to purchasing section. Here is the purchasing. So against purchasing we have accounting options. Click on update. Okay, I'll say edit accounting options against purchasing. The tab which we created for purchasing application only. So click on edit. Done. Here transaction accounting definition. This is the serial one which Oracle is created. But within this, there is no mapping, nothing, just with our chart of accounts, with our accounts and all. It's a basic definition. Until unless you go and add your chart of account related mapping into that accounts, it doesn't work. So here we have to specify what are the tab we created for our ledger. This is based on, within this environment it is vision based. Even fresh environment also you can see the predefined, but there no accounts mapping, no ledger specification. So ideally we create our own, whatever the process we followed. By following the same process we create in every implementation. So just select whatever we created.
All this part of finance implementation part of that, or
No, not finance. Whatever we are doing now, this is a core purchasing.
okay.
Okay, we are not dealing with too much of accounting, right? So just 5 account specification and the rest of process purely configuration, no accounting part. This is a
Thank
this is not going to be done by finance guys. SCM or say purchasing guy has to do. Okay.
Okay.
Done. The accounts information and all you may get from them if you are not aware of, if you are not interacting with the client with respect to that accounting information. So that, and again when we are doing this purchase pure tab or receipt accounting and cost accounting, yes, we can have interaction with the finance guy to take this accounting information, what accounts we required and how they have. When you look into the chart of accounts we can understand, but still you can have a interaction since this is related to accounting, but definition need to be done by SCM consultant. Okay, done. So this is how we have to associate the tab with our ledger. How we are associating? Within our ledger we have a subledger accounting method. Within that method, for each application we have a separate section of accounting rules. There we are overriding. So save and close. Click on done. Now if you go and create any document, it could be requisition or purchase order, based on what are the rules we define, the tab we have, accordingly system will derive the accounting code combination. Okay, it's a mandatory. So without setting up receipt accounting, we can create the receipts, but accounting entries would be pending from inventory side. And without setting the cost accounting, you can work on the inventory part and do order management part. System won't stop us from performing the transaction and executing everything. Only accounting entry system won't generate. For cost accounting and receipt accounting, without implementing those, you will be able to perform the transaction. Only you will struck with accounting entries creation if you don't implement cost accounting and receipt accounting. 100% it's a mandatory, we have to do it. But inventory creation, inventory time, without doing also system allowed. But when I talk about pivot tab, without completing this, you cannot create the purchasing related transaction. That is the reason, since it's a mandatory, we created. So when you are working on order management, we'll be creating that receipt accounting and cost accounting, which are required, which supports that inventory and OM related shipping execution process, etc. The COGS accounts and other accounts, will discuss and do it. This is all about tab, which is mandatory to start with the purchasing application. Fine. Any questions on this, please? When you are practicing, you can try to explore on that. There is nothing else. Whatever we have seen, that's how we have to follow the process, and those are the minimum setups which you have to perform. Okay, those are the setups. It's not like a minimum again. Those are the actual setups which you have to do to set up the tab. So
Lakshmi,
yeah.
all these configuration we have done through implementation project, right?
So these, whatever the tab related setups which we did, those you can do directly from the home page also possible. It's not mandatory. Just I prefer to go through the project, just to, since we have a project and all. Because see,
Okay.
the point is very simple. The setup we have to do from the project, or you can do outside of the project. Only the point is scope selection. When you are performing the setup, just to take an entry into that page, scope selection is mandatory or not, we have to see. To create these rules, these setups, to create mapping set, no scope selection, right? Directly you can enter into the mapping set page, definition page. There you can select the required parameters. Directly you can enter into account rule. For everything, no project is required. Directly you will be able to create. But we created from project. That's it. Yep.
But you have to have that area roles and permissions, as we discussed earlier.
Which area and roles?
Like privileges.
No,
And to
privileges and all. If you have access to application implementation consultant role, you'll have access to FSM. If you have access to FSM, you can do the setups from project. Any setup you can do from the project, or else you can do whatever the setups are allowed other than project environment. Those you can do it. Only what you need access to application implementation consultant. So this is the point we discussed. If you are referring something else, please let me know. We'll talk on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is only the point. So any other questions from anyone, please? Fine. So we're done with this setup, and purchasing document approval. In tomorrow session we can complete these setups. Approvals will configure. So we'll be spending time on the approvals, but to start with the purchasing, we'll create the basic approval rule for requisition purchase order. Then we'll start creating the requisitions purchase orders to test and understand different rule definitions for requisition purchase order. Once we get into the process of purchasing, again we'll create additional rules, and we'll disable the basic rule which we are going to create. That's how we'll see. Okay. So after completing this, directly we can go with the process, or else we'll go through the process of how to customize the roles that actually we plan to do within the inventory itself. Okay, so at least now we'll try to complete that, so that would be good information for us to understand. We started working on the transaction, we are dealing with the different roles. So same time we'll try to understand how to just first we'll review the roles and we'll compare the roles. We'll see how to copy and modify the existing roles, how to create the new roles from the scratch. That could be duty role or job role. We'll go through all after completing these setups. We'll complete these setups. We'll go through the role part. After completing role part, just we can directly jump into the transaction part. So any questions here, please?
So Lakshman, will you be covering the consignment concept also, or that's not in scope? Like consigned inventory.
Consignment inventory. Yeah, we'll touch base on that.
Okay. And another thing is like how we can enable the help button on the home page. I was trying to using the
Yeah,
menu.
simple. By default, that should be available. In some instance, we are noticing since these are the demo instances.
Uh,
I don't see that.
okay, because there is a button in in the same menu where we have a sign out, right? At the bottom it says enable help,
Yeah,
but
personalization
right.
option you have. Whatever you could see, those you can enable, disable, and you can just make a ordering and all. Those you can do. So maybe somebody is playing with all those options. That could be the reason you don't see in some environments.
Okay.
Just verify in that accessible environment that is any chance the disabled or somebody just personalize that page environment. Whatever the instance I just shared for your practice, I'll just verify in that. If it is not reflecting, I'll check it once. Yeah,
Okay. Sure.
yeah, fine. So any questions from others, please?